Hi.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the.
Justice and Faith Show.
Huh. How did she? Anyway.
Today, before we get started, we want to say hey and hi to everybody who is subscribed to our YouTube channel so far. Since last week, I think there's like one or two new guys. So hi, thank you.
Or girls.
Yeah, more girls. Thank you so much for subscribing. Tell your friends. Today we're going to talk about a issue that we believe is prevalent in every relationship, not just husband and wife, but it's definitely important for a husband and wife relationship or any kind of romantic relationship, and that is trust. How do you trust your significant other especially when the history has had some less than trustworthy things go on? So that's what we're going to talk about today, and you can go ahead.
I don't have, the way I look at trust is different than other people, especially when it comes to relationships. My idea of trust always has to do and is aligned with my expectations. It's not like if she goes out with her friends or something, I'm not worried about her talking to men or men hitting on her or something like that. Like I'm pretty positive that if anybody came up to her, talked to her, whatever the case may be, she would handle it appropriately. I would hope anyway. I see her looking up and like, I don't know, they all depend. I don't know, but I really don't think about it because I don't have any history that presents itself to say that she would do anything outside of what she's really supposed to do. Alternatively, me on the other hand, I have a history of that type of stuff, and actually before we got on, I was talking about a lot of where that history comes from. And honestly, sometimes it just comes down to boredom. Sometimes it's more than that, but when it's more, it's a deeper seated thing. And so for me, it goes back to this idea of being able to trust what people say, what they're going to do. So if you're telling me you're going to be somewhere for something, you're going to provide something, then I'm trusting you to provide that thing. So yeah. If you're saying that if I'm struggling in an area, you're saying that you're able to help me in this area, you're going to do something to help me through the struggle, then I'm trusting you to be with me every step of the way to help me with the struggle. Yeah. When you're not there to help me with the struggle, then all of a sudden, like, you lost trust with me. It doesn't take a lot. It honestly doesn't take a lot to build trust with me, because I'm actually more trusting than most people probably think I am. Despite my life, I tend to give people the benefit of the doubt until they do something wrong, but you lose it way faster because I'm just like, I always have this back of the mind kind of assessment that you're going to eventually mess up. There's few people in my life, I can count them on one hand and have fingers left over in regards to people who've been able to, I can say they've never really disappointed me. They've been fully trustworthy by just being and doing what they said they were going to do. So that's how I look at trust.
Yeah, and trust to me, like, especially like, I haven't really had too many people in my life lose my trust. I haven't had much of like, and the people that may have lost my trust or whatever, they weren't somebody that was going to be in my life after that. So it was never really a problem. And if you've been following us since like we started this, we outlined some things about how we started, how our relationship got started and everything. And honestly, Justice is the first person that broke my trust in a pretty significant way that is now in my life again. And that's something that I have found is like a interesting dynamic that I never really had to worry about before, because when we got back together, I was like, oh yeah, that's over. Like, I forgive you for that. Like, it's done. It's over. It's dealt with. I'm not going to keep bringing it up and like making you pay for it. Like, remember that time you did that thing? Like, you feel bad about that right now. Like, I don't usually use it as like an ace in my sleeve. Like, it's not something that I just pull out and I'm like, remember this? Like, you have to do this for me because you did this to me before. But it's like, it's very interesting learning how I view trust and how how it is a big deal for me, and I didn't really realize it until we actually have been having some discussions. Just that's why we decided to do this podcast today, is because we've had discussions recently about trust. Because he and I have been having little, like, well, not little, some fights recently, because he feels like I don't trust him and or respect him, because just he'll say something and then I'll automatically just negate it. I'll just say,
You just get defensive.
yeah, I'll get defensive. I'll say, no, that's not right, something like that. And it's not because I don't trust him, because pretty much everything he does or says this time around has been very much to build me up, help our family, help our future. Like, he's very good about, like, the big picture, and I'm not. But it's just interesting, because I'm like, it had to make me stop and think, like, why am I doing that? And now the more we talk about it and the more things kind of get brought up, I'm starting to realize maybe there are some deeper issues, like, that I haven't worked through yet. And that is something that I definitely have to explore further, just because I don't want it to interfere with our relationship. I love Justice, like, more every day. Like, I feel like he's just showing me all the time all the ways that he is trustworthy, and that he does only want what's best for me. And then I think also on top of that, because we've gotten back together, and since we've gotten back together, I have been on this, like, journey of self-discovery and self, like, improvement and change, and, like, I feel like sometimes I might not even trust myself. So if I can't trust myself, how the heck am I supposed to trust my husband, or anybody else for that matter, if I can't trust myself? And I say that meaning, like, I can't trust myself to be consistent. I can't trust myself to, like, keep moving forward and not getting, like, complacent and, like, I'm doing enough, I need to stop here, like, I'm good, like all those things. And I feel like there's definitely part of me who doesn't trust that I'll keep moving forward. So what do you have to say about all of that?
I'm trying to breathe. I'm sorry. I've been under the weather for the last couple of days.
Corona. No, he doesn't have Corona.
That's how you lose some
But everything is Corona now. So anyway, go ahead. I don't have enough. What trust? I don't even remember what it was Trust.
about now.
Yes, we're talking about trust.
Yeah, no, just to piggyback off of it. I understand where faith comes from in regards to trust, because I've been in other relationships before, and I've done questionable stuff in that relationship I've been in, pretty much. So I'm not, it's not that I have this aversion or I'm the kind of person. I don't care if people didn't trust me if I'm not doing something to be trustworthy. That doesn't bother me, because I know me. We're having a discussion, like I said earlier, about the fact that sometimes I don't trust myself, and I learn how that works. Like, I can be bored in the wrong situation, and I can have thoughts to want to do something that makes it's just no sense. It's not something I should be doing at all, any kind of way. And I don't plan on getting anything out of it other than the fact that I'm bored. And so I've had to learn these things, and I've had to learn how to not put myself in certain situations, because I honestly don't trust myself in certain situations. If I was in a room full of women, I don't have any problem with that. If I was in a room full of women drinking, I don't have any problem with that. If I was in a room by myself drinking without anyone else around, and I was a little bit emotionally off kilter, that is where my trust issues with myself start, because I'm like, well, normally when I'm in this mind state, what's going on around me? Am I by myself? Am I having fun? Who am I interacting with? All those types of things. And, like, there's something with me that says I need to go to this place that I'm most historically used to, and that could cause me to make bad decisions. So there's things that I've had to figure out over time, like I can't do these things. Where it's just like you're sitting at home drinking by yourself, like that shouldn't be an issue. But for me, yeah, it can be because I'm sitting at home drinking by myself. Why? Where's my wife? Where are my friends? What am I drinking? That's another huge thing. Like, am I drinking beer? Am I drinking rum? Am I drinking amaretto? If I'm drinking amaretto by myself at like 11, 12 o'clock at night, something's not right. And I know this, and most people around me would know it too. So it's one of those things where it's like you have to be self-aware. We keep talking. Maybe we should do one just on self-awareness.
Yeah.
But being self-aware and understanding who you are. So I know that there's pockets of life that I don't have full trust in myself. Does that mean that I'm not capable? No, it doesn't mean I'm not capable. It just means that I don't want to put myself in those situations. Somebody told me before, they said, yeah, I trust you, but don't go play in traffic. And it's like, oh, I get it. I get it. I understand. Like, just don't put yourself in negative or bad situations. And so in regards to my wife trusting me, what I also try not to do is put myself in situations in which things that have happened in my past could come forward. And it's another reason why we've been having certain issues, because it's just kind of like, well, we'll have an issue and she'll take it on her as though she's not doing something right. And if she's not doing something, then what I've done could come back, and that can happen again. And there's nothing I can say to tell her that that's not true. There's nothing I can say. All I can do is be present, not do those things, and that's it. And I understand that, so I can say it's not going to happen. I'll never. That's not the kind of person I am. All I'm letting her know is that, one, things that happened before weren't your fault to begin with. It really had to do with me. It had to do with me. It had to do with certain things that I wanted, certain things that I thought I needed, and I did to a degree, because it allowed me to become a better just overall person after everything. But it just means that I have to trust myself that when she goes through these moments, and they're going to happen, that I'm going to remain loving, and I'm going to remain what I need to help her through that transition. But she also has to understand that if she can't trust herself, if she can't trust her abilities as a wife and as a mother and as a woman, then it makes it very difficult for other people to trust it, especially myself. So that's where the conflict comes in, because everybody has a level and a line. So when everybody has arguments and disagreements and things like that. With us, it's been more prevalent over random weird things. Yeah. And so it's just really coming to a point where it's just like, is there an underlying foundation of trust that has been worn away, that's really been causing some deep-seated issues?
Right. So, like, just to keep going, like, trust with me is more than just, like, trusting other people, because I put a lot of pressure on myself about different things, and I think that's part of, like, my personal stuff. So if anybody out there does the same thing, you can reach out to me and we can help each other, because I put so much pressure on myself, and I'm not sure I'm, like, if I talked to a therapist, they'd probably be able to trace it back to my childhood.
Yeah, you always have. We went over that.
Right.
You've always been a people pleaser. You didn't want to be the bad child.
Yeah.
You didn't want to be...
So,
you didn't want to be the great child, but you loved the adulation. You never wanted to be the bad child, because that would destroy you.
Yeah.
So you were just like, if I'm just...
So I put, like, a lot of pressure on myself to just be good and not ruffle feathers, and not, like, I don't want to put more pressure on other people. Like, if what I'm doing is causing you pain, like, that's awful. Like, it makes me just, like, disintegrate, because I'm like, I'm adding to your stress. And I know life for everybody, especially now, like, with everything going on, is stressful. Like, life is so stressful, and if I'm doing something that's causing you more stress, it's just, like, the worst thing that I could do. So it's so much pressure on myself. Like, so that's something that I've identified. I'm not sure how I'm gonna, like, totally address it yet, to fix it or change it or work on it. But it's definitely something that I feel like now that it's identified, that it's not even that I don't trust him, it's that I don't trust myself. I need to work on that. So it's more just becoming a choice now of every day waking up and like trying to just like keep going in the way that I'm going, because I feel like I am moving forward and doing things. I just feel like trust is built over time. It's not just something that is going to happen overnight. So, and then realizing when something does happen to make me feel like, oh, well, there it goes. Like, it's not starting over from scratch, because sometimes I feel like if one thing goes wrong, all of a sudden all the work I've put in is thrown out the window and I have to start over again. And that's not the case. Like, logically, I know that's not the case. I may have been knocked back a step or two, but I haven't gotten tossed out the whole building. Like, so it's just a matter of rethinking a lot of things, like rewiring the way that I think about myself, about my progress, about the pressure I put on myself to be a certain type of way, whether it be at work or with him or with Arabella, rethinking how I am and how I think about myself.
And sometimes just not, this is coming from me, sometimes not thinking and just reacting. And it might sound counterproductive in regards to some of the things we've recently been through, if you just react as opposed to thinking. But it doesn't seem to really work, because even when you sit there and you start thinking, the way that you ask your questions, it kind of relies to the fact that there's the underlying trust in myself or yourself is just kind of like so if there's something I'm saying that you don't trust me, or you're not hearing me, and I'll say just do the research or talk to someone else and see if they'll say, so we're having a relationship issue, and there's not a whole lot of people in our life in which we can as a unit talk to together or separately and I want to say this correctly, to the standard we need. There's a lot of people we could talk to, but there's a very particular approach in this household that I try to make sure that we take. And so I can learn something from everyone, but I want to talk to people who have a relationship I'd like to emulate. And that's not a disparagement against anybody that we know that's in a relationship or anybody like that or anything like that. Because some people that I might see like that, I'm not as close to be able to just pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm having a relationship problem. Help, like, just talk to me. Like, so there are still relationships that are building, but I'm not going to talk to somebody in the church about a specific problem, because they're not going to have a full scope or full range. I'm not going to talk to one of my friends, one of my bros about something. They're not going to have a full scope or full range. She's not going to call her mom about something. She's not going to have a full scope or full range, or whoever, because the way that we deal with our life and stuff, we're merging two very different lives,
right,
two very different personalities into a household. And so the fact that a lot of people, they're not merging like that. Like they're closer to the same than totally apart. Like, we've been going through this almost every podcast. We are almost totally opposite. So the struggles that some people have, it's even harder for us in certain ways, because we're coming from two totally different ends of the world, where we have to try to meet somewhere in the middle, and we have so much further to go.
How did we get together again?
It's divine intervention. But what it really comes down to is that we have to, on a daily basis, work through our trust issues with ourselves, work through any trust issues we might have with each other. And I do believe that if we had an outlier trust issue, like if Faith is not a jealous woman, I don't believe. However, from time to time, I think certain people bother her more than others. Like, she's not implicitly, don't talk to, or she was looking at you making googly eyes. She's not really that type. But I think that I don't know why, because I was about to say maybe there's a type of woman, or maybe if she looks at somebody and feels like there's a threat, which I don't really see very often, and it might just be like a physical threat. But if they thought someone was a threat that was around, maybe I work with them or something like that, and she's like, I know how Justice likes women to dress, to keep their hair, to talk, smell, their teeth. Their teeth look really nice today, by the way. I was staring at them. But just little things like that that might catch my attention. I would think that she would go, I need to, nip it in the bud before it becomes something. But that's not even something too. But I believe that if there was something, it would be a conversation,
right.
Not necessarily like her drawing it out to say, Justice, are you interested in that person?
And it's funny because it's funny that you bring that up, because I was actually listening to a podcast. Shout out to the Naked Marriage podcast, because I've been watching them. So it would be really cool if they heard this and shouted back to us. But I have been listening to their podcast actually recently, and they were just talking about something, and they used a analogy or something where the guy was talking. He was like, "Oh no, my marriage is over," and the guy was like, "Why is your marriage over?" And it was like a story that he was telling, and the guy's like, "Oh, I saw my wife laughing with someone else," and the guy's like, "Oh, are you sure they weren't just kissing?" And like, but it's true. Like if you're seeing your significant other or spouse getting into any kind of inside jokes, like texting memes and
especially
doing
if they
different
don't
things
do it
like
with you.
that. Exactly. So it's like, if I saw that would be a problem. Like if I saw him like texting a person of the opposite sex funny pictures all the time, and I'm like, what's going on with that? Like, or if he was talking about
something on the message. Wasn't there something on Facebook where somebody kept commenting on my mess? Like somebody kept commenting.
Yeah,
You're like, this person comments on everything you post.
There was a woman that I didn't know who she was or what the relationship was, and she would consistently, like almost every time he posted something on Facebook, she would consistently comment. And it wasn't anything like overtly like inappropriate, but I was like, who is this woman? What's your relationship with her? Like, why is she continuously like commenting on your stuff? So like, that
you
kind
must
of
have looked at pictures or something too, because there's people who do it, and I was like, I think there has to be some level of.
If I think that she looks single, if I think that
looks single,
right? Like if I go, if it's to a point where I think I need to like look into her at all, I'll click on her to see if she's got pictures of kids or significant others or anything like that. And if she looks single in her Facebook, I'll be like, okay, who's this chick? Like, so
that's the second. But what if she's married?
Typically, I wouldn't, depending on what she's saying. Because not just because she's married doesn't mean she can't do anything, but depends on what she's saying and to the extent of what you reply back. This is another thing. He calls people love.
I knew this was coming.
Like, that is like a thing. He just calls everybody love. Like, it annoys me, but I get that he's not doing it in a pet name way. He literally calls like the waitress love. He'll call everybody love. So it's like, I know it's not, but then he'll call me love. And I'm like, if you're calling everybody else love, you are going to come up with a different name for me. Because I'm special.
Let's call you Faith. I mean, really, it's very hard to come up with a nickname that sticks for you. I've tried numerous times. I was like, Faith probably is the best name you could have. It just encompasses everything.
So, but for the most part, I trust him, and I don't really have a big trust issue when it comes to that, which is so funny because that would be the thing that a lot of people would think I would have the most trust issues with. And it's not. I don't think he's stupid enough to.
I hate how when you say it,
do anything.
You say it like that, like I'm not stupid enough. Like it's not stupid enough to do this.
To do this again, like.
It's not true. It's I don't think I would say it any different. But what it comes down to is I've learned how to be more trustworthy.
Yeah.
To really be honest, I've learned how to be more trustworthy because I've learned personally how I've gotten in some of the stuff that I've gotten into before. And a lot of it doesn't even have to do with. I've never been a malicious person. I've just been the kind of person that's just kind of like, there's an opportunity, and it's just like, well, you're going in, and this is what you want. Like, so you go to a buffet, you're just like, I want to go to the buffet. We like the Asian buffet. The Asian buffet has American food, Asian food, and everything. There's very specific things that I get. Sometimes I'm like, oh, they have the salmon today. Oh man, they got the Gentiles too. Oh man, but I want the sushi. Oh man, they got crabs. And I'm like, I didn't go in there for all of that, but I'm like, I went into a buffet. There's going to probably be something else that I see there that I'm interested in. So the best way for me to go about it is say, hey, and this is where a lot of people might tune out, and I'm not even going to hold you. If I have a dish, right? A dish. And I'm like, it's satiating, and it's good, and it's fulfilling, and I can change it up from time to time. I can season it up a little bit different, and whatever the case may be. It's good for me. It's great. But it doesn't provide me just a multitude of options. I can stick with my dish and be fine. There's a lot of people that can stick with their dish and be fine. Historically, and even from time to time, people want more of a buffet. It's just why buffets are popular, because it gives you more for less. Marriage, my goodness, I never even thought about it like that. Marriage is you not being able to go to the buffet anymore. Okay, so your trust, because it goes from, especially when you're like single, because you're just out and about. But when you're married, your trust lives inside like this little pocket where it's like there's boundaries and there's lines, something that I've not really historically been good at anyway. But that was my first thing. I learned boundaries. Even people that I work with and stuff, where I would talk about everything at all times, and we would laugh and joke, and we would share all types of different things, stuff that I might not even talk to the person I'm with about, because I feel like I cannot do so. I've learned that crosses boundary lines, because then people get comfortable with you, and they start understanding that if you're talking to me about this, or you're talking maybe about her or him, then that means that you trust me more than you trust them. You're giving me insight to something. I know things about you. I know things about them because they're not doing X, Y, Z. You're not happy. And that was by far the biggest trust thing that I've ever done, was making people aware, or allowing people to even think, I'm not happy in a relationship that I'm in. I'm sure that there's somebody who's watching this who's going to hear this, and they're going to be like, yep, that's the truth. If you go and you say, my wife or my husband or my boyfriend or my girlfriend is not doing something, people are like, what? Say it out loud. What's my word?
Oh, what?
Sharks!
Sharks?
Sharks. People are like sharks. Because the moment, man, she goes out and she's sitting by herself, she's got a little glass of wine, and she's doing a little hand thing. I don't know how to make the noise. And somebody just, what's wrong with you? She could say, just been a long week. Well, was it work? Was it your husband? People get triggered. She could not be wanting to say anything. And just because somebody just went through, is it your kids? Is it your dog? Is it your feet? Is it your husband? Well, yeah. Like, if he didn't say anything else, she might have just not responded. But because he said husband, or her eyes furrow, or she dripped the glasses, that's what I would know, because I'm observant like that.
Yeah. And
then all of a sudden, they're like, oh well, this is line. I've never used this. I just know this is I don't use lines. I don't need to. I'm freaking man. Look at my outfit. Oh man, I wouldn't even let my wife go outside if she looked as beautiful as you, or any man that wouldn't want to see a smile on that face all the time must be dumb. And then you're like, yeah, he is stupid. Like but he's a good guy. And then it was like, well, if you love him so much, he's he loves me, and he's a good guy, and he'll make me laugh sometimes, and he'll buy me things sometimes, and he'll make me feel loved sometimes. Every time you say sometimes, this guy's like, I got you. Because if I could just make you feel like all things at all times right now, then that's it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways to go about trust. It's a constant struggle. It's a constant conversation. It doesn't have to be a constant battle. When you know yourself, you know your significant other, it makes it a lot easier for you to adjust to these different things. Like, I don't have a very great history with being trustworthy, but I've been working tirelessly to make sure that I'm not putting myself in positions to make my wife worry or to think that she has any kind of competition, because she doesn't.
But that's all the time we have for. We hope that someone listening got something good out of this. Please, like I said earlier, comment, talk to us, because we are doing this so that we can help people. Like, we want you to get something out of this. So subscribe, like us, follow us on Instagram, all of that good stuff. So
make yourself socially active. I see y'all on TikTok. Y'all still on the Snapchat and all that stuff. Get on the Justice and Faith chat. We got bumper stickers. We got products and merchandise. But we're not going to unveil everything until we get our numbers up. Once we get our numbers up, we're going to start unveiling more stuff.
Right.
We'll be able to give you guys a few things. We got some Super Married t-shirts coming.
Yeah.
We got some the J and F and all that kind of stuff or whatever. You can't go wrong with Justice and Faith on your shirt.
Right.
Like, nobody can judge you, but oh my goodness, Justice and Faith, they're a real superhero team and stuff like that. You don't have to know it's us. You just can be just cool. I like justice, fairness, black power, white power. But never mind. We ain't gonna edit that. We ain't gonna edit that. But I mean, whatever you think is fair. Whatever you, Lord, I'm sick, y'all. I am sick. My mind is not working correct. I went back. I was looking at the 1619 project. I don't know
all right. Let's just end there.
I was watching the debates. I don't know. My brain is but just contact us. We love you all, and we're signing off saying to keep your faith strong
and maintain justice. Bye.